your study Bible and mine says virgin or note or young maiden. So the word can mean both. So
Hmm.
apparently Isaiah 7 it means young maiden, but but when it's long-term prophesying about the Messiah, it means literally means actual virgin.
How do they have the audacity in Matthew to talk about a virgin birth referencing Isaiah 7?
Yeah,
I don't know. There's so many parallels there.
it is odd how many parallels there are, isn't there?
You're right though that he does not, that there is differences. There are differences that would denote this is not the same. We're talking about
Yeah,
two different things in here.
clearly.
Um,
Yeah, and really we're asking the question, where does the New Testament come off saying, here's what this really meant? And why would they think that? And you talked about the parallels. And let's talk about some of the parallels. We have people in peril from an enemy.
mhm,
We have a prophecy about a baby being the solution or the marker of a
mhm.
solution, named God with us. That's a remarkable parallel because Jesus actually turned out to be God with us. And so, yeah, I can see that they're saying, yeah, Isaiah was talking to Ahaz, and he had his own son with the goofy name. But we see that 700 years later, this was talking about at the same time, it's like a dual prophecy, talking about God with us, literally, but this time it's actually a young maiden's actually a virgin, as opposed to just a young maiden who, I mean, maybe she was a virgin when he gave the word, but she sure wasn't a virgin when he came home with her in chapter 8.
Right.
We don't really know if Isaiah knew that. We just know that he was having a conversation with this guy at the time.
And maybe Isaiah didn't, you know, maybe we put a lot of pressure on these prophets.
Hmm.
Maybe we're asking them to say more than God told them to say. You know,
Well, apparently Matthew didn't think it was more than God told him. Apparently Matthew said, "Hey, Isaiah, you don't even know what you were saying, or you knew, and now we all really know." Does it go both ways? In other words, Isaiah's actual flesh and blood son has two names: Emmanuel, God with us, which I guess he could be telling Ahaz, "Don't worry, God is with us. Um, he's with you, even though you're worried about these two armies." Um, and and the second name, quick to the plunder, quick to the
mhm.
plunder, swift to the spoil. Is it possible that that is also a prophetic name about the coming Messiah, or is that name only apply to his flesh and blood son? In other words, can we take both names and view them both as sort of descriptions of Jesus?
When I hear what that name means, maybe that seems like Jesus. That's not who I picture when I first hear. When I first hear quick to the plunder, I
Yeah,
just
it
lost
sounds
it.
like the Assyrians. It sounds like
He,
the Assyrians, maybe.
yeah, he sounds like a raider. Now, also, he also talks about reaping a great harvest.
Yeah.
Jesus reaping a great harvest.
And you brought it up at the beginning, getting a different view of Jesus. You were referring to Isaiah 53 than maybe we're used to. In that case, a man beaten to a pulp and unrecognizable to where you can't tell maybe if he's a man or a beast. Is if Isaiah, if the two prophetic names for this son, who's symbolizes deliverance from the enemy, if the second name can also be applied to Jesus, like the first name can, Emmanuel, what does it say about Jesus if he is quick to the plunder and swift to the spoil? And you brought up a good possibility that maybe it's referring to the uh, the great harvest at the end, where he's harvesting. It's like he's plundering the earth of the harvest.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, Alex, what I got the most out of these two chapters, reading them together, what I walked away with was, and I love Eugene Peterson. I love the way that he puts it in the message. But in um, in Isaiah 8:16 through 22, he talks about, gather up your testimony, preserve the teachings for my followers. Um, while I wait for God as long as he remains in hiding. While I wait and I hope for him. I stand my ground and hope. I and the children God gave me as signs to Israel, warning signs and hope signs from God of the angel armies who make his home in Mount Zion. When people tell you, try out the fortune tellers, consult the spiritualists, why not tap into the spirit world, get in touch with the dead? Tell them, no, we're going to study the scriptures. People who try the other ways get nowhere, a dead end. Frustrated and famished, they try one thing after another. When nothing works out, they get angry, cursing first this God and that one, looking this way and that, up and down and sideways, and seeing nothing, a blank wall, an empty hole. They end up in the dark with nothing. So that's how chapter 8 concludes, Message version. And I love that, because I was like, we're still doing that. We're still going to people. We're still wanting the answers from everybody, the advice from everybody, the opinions of everybody.
Because that ends, and then we go into chapter 9 that talks about a light exploding up in Galilee, which is also pretty interesting. So.